Writing from the illegible edge. I'm not writing to be understood. I'm writing to cast spells, leave echoes, stir heat, let the gaps stay wild, let the reader ache with not knowing, let the fragments hum louder than any explanation. This is not abstraction. This is ritual refusal. I write for resonance, not recognition, for the ones who feel the charge, even when they don't know why. That was a poem I wrote after a chat with a friend this morning who was sitting with the question of being understood by their audience. And there are times when I'm not writing to be understood. I'm writing to cast spells, and right now I'm learning to write small and micro. And I'm wondering what happens when your truth won't fit in 250 words, in 150 words, in 6 words. I was wrestling with how much I should shape myself into something understandable, especially in short form, and especially when what I carry, queerness, shadow trauma, erotic charge, this is already illegible to many. For my friend, there was the question of grant writing and public offerings, and I'm so grateful that we have access to funds to support the arts, and also so often it can focus on being understood instead of also evoking resonance, evoking emotive response, which I might argue could be far more powerful than being understood. I think it's artist's choice. I think both have their place. One can play with having both or neither. The desire to be felt without being reduced is real, and there's a cost in being decoded versus being witnessed. So these are things I'm not feeling judgments about, but I'm playing with as questions. And I wanted to talk to other people who might also be playing with these things. So I'm wondering, how are you writing to affect, not to explain? Sometimes I know that I evoke strong reactions, even when people don't get what I'm talking about, what I'm saying. I've been accused of being coy in my writing. I don't think that's what I'm doing. But sometimes I'm being shy. Where's that difference? More questions. Thought I'd share another little excerpt, just a piece from a longer item I'm sharing later tonight. It doesn't feel like becoming. It feels like butchery. You thought you were molting, peeling soft layers, dissolving into some mythic nextness, but no, you're tearing yourself out of yourself. It's not sacred, and it's not clean, it's carnage. Your spine doesn't open, it rips. With these pieces, I'm learning to let the reader's assumptions become a part of the piece. And even more so as I'm moving into micro. There's a pleasure of them not knowing whether it's autobiographical, performance, or invocation. And I'm curious how you might play with ritual disclosure, the idea that one single fragment might hold enough, that a story as a shard may have the same power as the accumulation of myth. And where do those two mirror one another? Where are they polarities that are in fact the same? And I'm curious how you are embracing illegibility as power, the sacredness of what is not for public translation, and the safety of your heart, your body, your sovereignty, and the subversion that you bring to the stories that you've crafted. There was a quote, and I was trying to find who. If you know, please tell me. But you don't get to read my bruise like a map, and I really appreciate that. So, as ever, I ask the question, what else is possible? So, what if writing wasn't about revelation, but resonance? What if creating wasn't about being understood, but evoking? What if the short form wasn't for clarity, but for compression? I really enjoy writing as mythic memory practice and letting a piece ache instead of explaining it. I enjoy asking the listener or the reader to track what's humming in their own bodies far more than what they think. I write these sacred smut scrolls. If you want to sign up, you can get those, but they're not to be understood, they're to be entered. And I like to think that perhaps what I'm offering could be a reminder to you of how to engage with what can't be unfelt. So if you've got any of those pieces you want to engage with, please leave a comment, share. And I'll leave with one last question. What's a part of your story that refuses to be made legible? And how else does it want to be written? What else is possible in your sharing? All right. You can subscribe or follow for more sacred smut and somatic myths and queer creative crafting. I'd love to hear from you.